Welcome to my channel, Uncovering the Past. In today's video, we're stepping into something deep, something that touches not just the mind but the heart. The title says it all. 5 clear signs you are a true Christian. Most people get this wrong. Now, that's a bold claim, right? But let me start with a question for you. Have you ever wondered if you're really walking in faith the way Jesus called us to? Or if maybe, without even realizing it, you've been caught up in a version of Christianity that looks good on the outside but is missing its core? That question alone can make you pause, because it's easy to assume that being Christian just means going to church, reading the Bible, or saying a quick prayer. But what if I told you that being a true Christian is far deeper and far more challenging than most people ever imagine? Let me paint a picture. Imagine a man sitting alone in his room late at night. His Bible is open, the pages worn and marked with notes from years of sermons. On the surface, he looks like a faithful believer. He knows the verses, he never misses a Sunday, and he's always ready to say, "I'll pray for you," whenever someone's struggling. But here's the twist. Deep down, he can't shake this gnawing doubt. He asks himself quietly, am I truly living for Christ, or am I just wearing the label of a Christian without living the life? That inner tension, that whisper of the soul, is what today's story is about. Because the truth is, being a real follower of Jesus isn't measured by outward appearances. It's measured by something far more personal, far more hidden. Something that only shows itself in the way we live, the way we love, and the way we surrender. Now here's where it gets interesting. Many people believe they are walking the Christian path simply because they've checked a box, said a prayer, or signed their name on a church roll. But when Jesus spoke about his followers, he made it clear that not everyone who says, "Lord, Lord," truly belongs to him. That's unsettling, right? It forces us to step back and ask, am I deceiving myself? Have I confused religion with relationship? Those questions can shake the foundation of our faith, but they're necessary if we want to get to the truth. Because a true Christian isn't just someone who believes in God. It's someone whose entire life is transformed by following Christ. And here's the twist most people miss. Those clear signs of being a true Christian aren't always the flashy, outward ones. In fact, they're often quiet, hidden, and easily overlooked by the world. They don't show up in how loud your worship is or how many verses you can quote. Instead, they reveal themselves in the way you forgive when no one's watching, in the way you resist temptation when no one would know, and in the way you love others when it costs you something. These signs are the proof of a faith that's alive, not just words spoken. So before we dive into the 5 signs that reveal whether you are truly walking as a follower of Christ, I want you to hold on to this thought. What if the very things you've been taught to measure your faith by are not the things Jesus looks for at all? What if the truth about being a real Christian is far different than what most people believe? And what if, by the end of this video, you find yourself asking whether you've been living in the light of true faith or simply carrying its shadow? Stay with me, because as we uncover each sign, the story will challenge what you thought you knew, and it just might change the way you see yourself forever. The struggle begins when that same man, who thought he had it all figured out, starts noticing cracks in the way he lives out his faith. He notices how easy it is to talk about forgiveness, but how hard it is to actually forgive when someone truly hurts him. He can sing about love on Sunday morning, but on Monday he finds himself bitter, jealous, or impatient with people around him. And the conflict grows deeper because he knows the words of Jesus, "By their fruits you will know them," but he wonders if his life shows fruit at all. This isn't just his story. It's the silent question many believers carry but are afraid to admit. What if faith has become more about appearances than transformation? What if being a Christian has become a role to play rather than a life to live? As this inner conflict builds, another layer appears. He looks around and sees others in his church community who seem to be struggling in the same way. Outwardly, they look strong, but inwardly, many of them carry doubts, guilt, and secret battles. It raises a haunting question. How many people sitting in pews every week are simply wearing masks? This subplot is where the tension intensifies, because it isn't about judging others, but about realizing that being a true Christian is not about blending in with a crowd. It's about walking in a way that sometimes feels lonely, misunderstood, or even costly. The deeper he goes into this struggle, the more uncomfortable the truth becomes. If following Jesus requires more than words, more than rituals, then what does it really require? The answer is not clear yet, and that's where the suspense lies, because the signs of a true Christian may be very different from what most people expect. The weight of the conflict keeps pressing harder, almost like a storm that refuses to pass. Every time he thinks he understands what it means to be a true Christian, another question rises to the surface. Is it enough to simply believe, or does true faith demand something far greater? He remembers the words of Jesus' warning that the road is narrow, and suddenly that phrase feels less like poetry and more like a warning. What if the path he thought was safe is actually wide and easy, the very one that leads people away without them ever realizing it? That thought alone is terrifying, because it forces him to consider that many who call themselves Christians might be walking in the wrong direction. The tension only grows as he begins to see how deeply this question affects every part of life. He notices how easy it is for people, including himself, to slip into routines. Reading a verse, whispering a prayer, singing a song, without their hearts truly changing. The more he sees it, the more uneasy he feels, because if being a true Christian is about transformation, then half-hearted faith may not be faith at all. It's like standing on a bridge that looks strong but has cracks hidden underneath, and every step makes you wonder if it will hold or collapse. In the quiet moments, he hears a voice in his own conscience. What if you've missed it? What if you've been living a shadow of faith instead of the real thing? That inner whisper becomes louder, almost impossible to ignore, and it pushes him toward a breaking point. The signs of true Christianity are close, within reach, but before they are revealed, the haunting question still lingers. Am I ready to face the truth, even if it means everything I thought I knew is wrong? Just when he thinks the questions couldn't cut any deeper, another realization shakes him. It isn't just about his own life anymore. One evening, while scrolling through messages on his phone, he notices a friend reaching out, asking for advice on faith. The friend's words sound desperate, confused about whether God even hears his prayers, unsure if he's living as a real Christian or just pretending. Suddenly, the conflict isn't isolated inside his heart. It's spreading outward. Now he feels the heavy responsibility of guiding someone else when he himself is drowning in doubts. That twist adds pressure he never expected, because how can he point others toward truth if he isn't sure where to find it himself? The more he thinks about it, the higher the stakes become. If he's been wrong about what it means to be a true Christian, then he might have been giving people the wrong picture of faith all along. That thought is terrifying because Christianity isn't just personal. It's also how your life impacts others. He begins to see how every choice, every word, every action can either draw people closer to Jesus or push them further away. The fear of failing not just himself but also others begins to keep him awake at night. The tension escalates when he looks around at the world beyond his circle of friends and church. He sees countless people calling themselves Christians, each claiming to follow Jesus, but living lives that look completely different from one another. Some focus on rules, others on emotions, and some seem to have no change at all except the label. This contradiction gnaws at him because if everyone is claiming the same faith but showing opposite fruits, then how do you know who is walking in truth? The possibility that the majority could be wrong, and only a few might actually understand, leaves him shaken. It all comes crashing down one night as he stares at the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew. Not everyone who says to me, "Lord, Lord," will enter the kingdom of heaven. The words leap off the page like fire, and the weight of them nearly takes his breath away. If that warning is real, then pretending isn't just dangerous, it's deadly serious. Now the question isn't only about what it means to be a true Christian, but whether he has been blind to the very truth he thought he already knew. The story has reached a breaking point, and the only thing left is to uncover those signs that separate real faith from an empty shell.